Hello, welcome back to Music Monday with Johnny Tiger. And here you are thinking it's going to be Toys Thursday. Probably thinking that what's going on? The guy got his dates confused, mixed up. No, it is Music Monday. This is June 29, 2020, 2 days before Canada Day. So what's going on here? How come I'm not playing any music? Well, uh, mostly because it is getting a little bit late, and usually when it gets this late and I start to play musical instrument, my neighbors start complaining. So I thought we're going to do something a little bit different today. You see, earlier last year, wow, it's been over a year ago, but yeah, earlier last year I had the uh, privilege to visit the music museum in Arizona with my girlfriend. And while we were there, we were shown different music from different culture, different instruments by the tour guide that were taking us to different exhibit in the museum. However, one thing that we never did really get around to was the Chinese and Oriental instrument. Other people were more interested in the Indian music, Hispanic music, and guitars and African music, and so on and so on. And we really wanted to check out the Oriental display, but never did get a chance to. Now, how it was done over there at the music museum was that they would take you to, let's say, the Indian music display, and for people who can see, they'll show you the instrument. For people who can't see, they will give you a pair of headset, and then they will play you the instrument from that culture, so you get an idea of what they sound like. So I thought, well, hey, you know, we didn't get to visit the Chinese section, so how about I can uh, sort of emulate that and provide a little bit of a Chinese experience for those of you who might not be very up to date on your Chinese instrumentation and the kind of musical instrument there are in Chinese culture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a few different instruments on the computer here, and so you get an idea of what sound like what. The first instrument I'm going to show you is a Chinese horizontal bamboo flute, aka 笛子, or some people will say dizzy. The 笛子 is, like I said, a horizontal bamboo flute. You play it very similar to the Western concert flute. However, it doesn't have nearly as many keys or holes as a Western concert flute. There's only six finger holes on the Chinese bamboo dizzy flute. But it is a beautiful instrument, and we're going to listen to what it sounds like right now. We got a little piano intro going to the song. It has a very organic, very fleshy, voluptuous sound to it, despite it being a smaller flute and don't have as many tricks and tips to it. It's actually quite a simple instrument, so it is amazing that they can get such a full melodic sound out of it. Now there's a little bit of a piano solo, um, so I can talk a little bit. I actually bought myself one of these DC flute as well, but so far it's not going too well because, well, I wasn't very good at playing the regular Western concert flute to begin with, and now playing the bamboo version from China, I can barely get any sound out of it. I don't know how long it's going to take before I can sound as good as what they show here, but we can always be hopeful. So that was a horizontal bamboo flute, the dizi or dizi flute um, in Chinese culture. To give you guys a quick comparison, because I know if I do this in a different order, you may not be able to tell them apart. Here is a different kind of flute, which I showcased a little bit in the previous episode. This is the Chinese shell flute. The shell flute is also bamboo, but it is straight. So you play it straight on like you would a recorder or a tin whistle. It sounds relatively similar to the dizzy, but personally, I actually prefer the shell flute both for listening and for playing. Now, in this song that I'm about to show you is a shell flute accompanied by the kanghu. The kanghu is a Chinese harp, uh, another very beautiful instrument, and the kanghu and the shell flute often go hand in hand together. Usually, you would have people playing like they were doing a duet. Usually, it would be a woman on the flute and a man on the kanghu harp. Beautiful, beautiful harp music. As you can tell, the shell is a lower tone flute because it is a much longer flute. Sorry, that was my Skype notification. I forgot to turn off that sound, so kind of ruined the mood a little bit there. So now you get an idea of the dizzy or dizi flute and the shell flute. I'm going to show you guys another very unique Chinese wind instrument. This one is called the hulu shell. The hulu shell is traditionally made from gourd, and it's a very unique sounding, very again very uh, interesting instrument. Uh, I actually been contemplating getting one for myself because I kind of always wanted to see what it's like to play one. Uh, I think it's a little bit like a mouth organ or bagpipe, if you would, in techniques. So this is what this instrument sounds like, the hulu shell, aka the Chinese gourd flute. As you can tell, the hulu shell gourd flute seem to have a lot more trilling in its technique, a lot of fluttering, just like the other two flutes. It also has a very full melodic tone. So that was the hulu shell, the Chinese gourd flute. So we got three wind instruments under our belt. Now we're going to switch gear over to something else. We're going to switch over to uh, string instrument. Uh, this next instrument is also a Chinese harp, and it's called the guten. The guten, or the classic Chinese harp, has always been the instrument of the gentleman throughout Chinese history. Back then, if you were a gentleman or a scholar, you need to learn to write, you need to learn to draw, and you need to learn to play an instrument. And quite often, that instrument was the Chinese harp, 古筝. So let's have a listen to see what it's like. So peaceful. It is a very tranquil instrument. It was said that for those who wish to master the art of playing the guzheng harp, there is no songs. So unlike learning how to play the piano or the guitar, where you will say, I want to learn how to play uh, uh, My Heart Will Go On, or I want to learn how to play Wind Beneath My Wings, in the study of guzheng harp, you do not learn songs. What you do learn is feelings. So when you look at guzheng harp music, quite often uh, you can hear someone play Running of 1,000 Horses, for example, and someone else will play the same song and it sound completely different. It's not even the same melody. It is because they do not go by melody. They go by how you are able to convey that feeling of sadness or exultation or love or enjoyment. So as long as you can get that feeling in there, uh, however you do it, the melody, the notes are not important. You do it however you like. So you may play the running of 1,000 horses by using the G chord, and I may do it in a D minor chord and completely different set of notes, and no one can say if yours was the right version or mine was the right version, as long as they both sound like what the name of the song supposed to be, they're fine. That's a really interesting philosophy on playing instruments. The next one I'm going to show you, this is pipa. Pipa is traditionally seen as a woman's instrument in China, although there have been men that play that too. And the closest we can come to that is like a Chinese ukulele or a Chinese guitar. In fact, I always find that the pipa sound reminds me a lot of the Spanish guitar, the classical guitar. Um, it's quite a nice little handheld string instrument, and it sounds like this. It has a lot of little trills and vibrating notes, and uh, it's quite a nice little instrument for those fast and um, cheerful dance type of music. And even now, even in modern Chinese music, the pipa is very often used just to get that Oriental flair into the music. Last but not least, I'm going to show you the Chinese violin or the Chinese fiddle, aka the erhu. Uh, this is an instrument that is loved by both my mother and my girlfriend. Uh, Honestly, when I was younger, when I was in my teen years, none of these Chinese Oriental music appealed to me. To me, they were boring. They all sounded the same. Not until later in life, after I turned 30, and it's almost like I reached a new level of appreciating music, and now I can actually listen to them and set them apart. I can distinguish them, and I have much more appreciation for them. And on top of that list is the erhu. When I was little, I hated the sound of the erhu. I always said it sounded like funeral music, like music for dead people. It's so depressing and whiny. But now I rather like it. Maybe I'm growing up at last. The erhu is also traditionally known as the storyteller's best friend. Storytelling is a big part of the Chinese culture, and quite often you will go to a tea house or a coffee shop or even bar or nightclub, and they would have professional storytellers retelling some heroic tales from the old days. And usually those storytellers would have a musician, just one musician in the background with an erhu, and that musician's job is to play the appropriate music or melody depending on where the story is going. So if it's a sad scene, they will play a sad melody, and if it's a happy scene, they will play a joyful melody. The erhu also has the ability to produce a variety of strange sound, just like you can do on the trumpet and the violin. Uh, so if the story requires the sound of a baby, they can actually make that sound on the erhu. And if the story is describing a horse, and some musicians can actually make that sound on the erhu as well. So it's a very versatile, very funny instrument. Thank you for checking out today's Music Monday. We'll be back again tomorrow for some Tactical Tuesday. For now, have a good night, and I will see you guys tomorrow.